My name is Hannah and this is my no-buy year. So today I filmed my morning skincare routine for you, and I'm going to talk through it right now and intersperse the footage of myself actually applying the products. I've already filmed my evening skincare routine, and I do recommend that you go and watch that. The two routines definitely complement each other. They go hand in hand. And actually, most of my heavyweight products, most of my real skincare superstars are used in the evening. The morning routine is one that I tend to keep as simple as possible, partly because I don't want so many layers of product on my face during the day, especially if I'm going to be wearing them underneath makeup, and also because I tend to have less time in the mornings. My morning skincare routine is kind of an accordion. It can be squeezed down to be super short and efficient if I feel like I only have a little bit of time, and it can also be stretched out to include a couple of more layers of product if my skin is feeling particularly dry, if I feel like I need extra protection, etc. Someone is using a buzzsaw in my neighborhood. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm sorry. This morning I applied almost the full complement of products that are ever in my morning skincare routine. There was one step that I sometimes do that I left out. I'll explain it, but I have little clips demonstrating the use of almost all of the products. The accordion was pretty fully stretched out today. I had the time and my skin has been feeling a bit dry, so I went for more layers rather than fewer layers in my morning skincare. Before we start, I am 33 years old. I have dry skin. I am very acne prone. I have a whole other video about how to prevent acne in ways that don't involve topical skincare. So if you are acne prone, I definitely recommend watching that video, but you should know that my concerns are blemishes, redness, scarring, and at this point, fine lines and wrinkles, because I'm getting into the middle of my 30s and I'm definitely starting to see my skin change. Let's jump right into the morning skincare routine. Sometimes I wake up in the morning looking very refreshed. I'll wake up and I'll look in the mirror and my skin will be even in tone and my eyes will be bright and my under eye area will be nice and smooth. And sometimes I wake up in the morning and I look in the mirror and I look like I've been hit by a bus. Puffy, wrinkly under eyes, sallow, blotchy skin, redness, dryness. I mean, sometimes I just look like trash. And I think it's probably related to how much sleep I got, what kind of products I was wearing on my skin when I went to sleep. I think it can definitely be related to how much alcohol I've had that week. A lot of times if I had one drink in a week or maybe 2 drinks in a week, I tend to remain pretty refreshed looking. If I have a couple drinks for a couple of nights within a week, that will have a detrimental effect on my sleep and my skin. So I do have some sense of some of the factors that cause me to sometimes wake up looking like a Disney princess and sometimes wake up looking like a train wreck, but I don't have total control over those factors, and oftentimes I don't really know what I'm gonna see when I look into the mirror in the morning. So I would say I wake up with pretty rough looking under eyes about 1/3 to 1/4 of the time. If I've been drinking or crying, or if I haven't gotten enough sleep, or I've been stressed out and I had bad dreams, then I can pretty much guarantee that my under eyes will look bad when I wake up. But sometimes it happens for reasons that I don't understand. When it does happen, I always reach for my under eye gel patches. And sometimes I wake up looking pretty okay, but I just want to give my under eyes an extra boost of moisture and plumpness. I reach for these maybe every 3rd day when I wake up in the morning. Of course, it's also dependent on whether I have enough time. But if I have time, and if my under eyes need to be rescued, I will apply these little gel patches to my under eyes. It comes with a little plastic wand, so you don't have to reach your fingers into the jar every time. So I use the little plastic wand and I peel 2 of them out of the jar and I stick them on my under eyes. They're very serum-y. They're really wet, but they stick super well and they stay. So on the mornings when I want to use these, I put them on first thing. I wake up in the morning, I pop these right onto my under eyes, and then I make a cup of tea and I sit down and I answer comments on my YouTube videos, and I just tootle around and just do the things that I do during the first half hour of being awake. And after about a half hour of having these on, they've started to dry out. You can feel them getting a little bit crispy around the edges because all of the serum has been absorbed into the skin or evaporated. I'm sure it's a combination of both. In any case, when I peel them off, my under eye area looks so much better. So much better. It's moisturized, it's smoothed, it's nice and tender, and it's much easier to apply makeup over top of that skin if I'm going to apply makeup there on that day. These are just absolutely wonderful. They're a staple in my morning skincare routine, even though I don't use them every day. I hate to be without them. These are also a K-beauty product and they're super affordable. I'll link them down below, but I believe the jar is something like $10 or $12. The brand is Petite Fille, and these are the Gold and Snail Hydrogel eye patches. They work better than any high-end brand of under eye gel patches I have ever tried. These are the best ones I've ever tried, and you can't beat the price. So the next step is to rinse my face. If I've used the gel patches, I will rinse my face after I remove them. If I haven't used the gel patches, then rinsing my face is the first step in my morning skincare routine. I don't wash my face in the morning. This is potentially kind of controversial. Some people agree that it's a good thing to not wash your face twice a day with soap because lots of washing with soap can potentially be stripping. Some people feel like it's not sanitary not to wash your face with soap in the morning. Some people feel like you have to wash your face with soap in order to get the dirt off from when you were sleeping. I have experimented with both. I've used morning cleansers for long stretches of time in my life. And right now, it's been many, many months that I've not been using a morning cleanser, and I'm really pleased with the balance of my skin right now. So I'm gonna continue on with this, and it's working really well for me. One of the reasons that I think it works so well for me is that I wear so many layers of product when I go to sleep at night. If you watch my evening skincare routine, you'll see what I mean. I've packed tons of hydrating serums into my skin. I've layered oils on top to seal them in, and then I've layered a cream on top of the oils to seal them in. So there's a thick layer of product on my face when I fall asleep, and even though much of it does soak in overnight, when I wake up in the morning, I still feel like my skin is protected. I feel like any dirt or grime that might have floated along through the air and landed on my face while I was sleeping has landed on top of the layer of skincare that's there protecting my skin. So when I wake up in the morning, I can still feel it on my skin, and when I start to splash water onto my face, I can feel all of that leftover product emulsifying, and when I wash it away, it's almost as if that emulsified leftover product is acting as a kind of cleanser. I feel pretty confident that any grime or dirt or anything that was on my face on top of that skincare during the night is being cleaned away with the residue of lotion and everything. So I feel like my skin gets really clean just by rinsing with water. What I'm doing is rinsing off the residue of my nighttime skincare routine with water. Then I dry it with a towel, and I tend to be a little bit aggressive with my morning towel dry. I'll rub it in gentle circular motions and allow the nubbiness of the towel to really get every last bit of remaining product off of my skin. It's like a very slight and gentle exfoliation, and that also helps me feel like my skin is getting very clean just from rinsing with water and drying with a towel in the morning. The next thing I do after that is to apply a galactomyces essence. I talked extensively about galactomyces in my most recent empties video, so I will link that in the cards. I don't always use the CosRx galactomyces tone balancing essence in this roll. For a while I was using one from Misha, but whatever the brand is, my preference is to have in this roll the product that goes onto my face directly after rinsing it. So it's essentially the first thing that I put on my face when it's clean in the mornings. I like to have that product be a fermented yeast extract toner that's designed to help balance the pH of the skin. I have gone without a galactomyces essence and then added it back in, and then gone without and added it back in several times over the past couple of years. And I feel like I can confidently say that when I'm using a galactomyces essence, my skin is consistently brighter and more even in tone, and it's also less likely to break out. It feels like a very mild product. It's not an acid, it's not like a retinol, it's not going in and making you feel tingly and making your skin feel like dramatic things are happening. But I do believe that gently and consistently making sure that the surface of my skin is pH balanced helps to keep my skin's barriers functioning. It helps to keep bad stuff out and good stuff in, and it makes it much less likely that my skin will be compromised and that it will have to become inflamed or that it will have to create pimples as a result of that imbalance. So it doesn't necessarily help with hormonal acne, but I think that sometimes I do get acne just because something has gotten onto my skin or because my skin's barriers are out of whack. And when I'm using this product, I feel like that never happens. So it's kind of a serum consistency. I pump one pump into my hand and then I gently pat it all over my face and press it into my skin until it's fully absorbed. And after that, I reach for my pride and joy, one of the most effective items in my skincare routine, which is my vitamin C serum, and I use the Drunk Elephant C-firma Day Serum. I've talked about it ad nauseum on this channel. You're probably sick of hearing about it, but vitamin C, I feel, is a must for me. I think it's one of the most potent anti-aging ingredients, and it also really helps with brightening. And a mottled, blotchy appearance to the skin is one of the things that I struggle with the most. So this is a double header for me. I think it really helps to keep my skin bright and smooth and even. And it also helps to keep my fine lines and slows down the process of those fine lines developing into deeper and more permanent wrinkles. A process which is inevitable, and I know that it's coming, and I'm going to welcome it with as much grace as I can. But in the meantime, it's nice to know that I'm putting something on my skin that's helping it retain its resiliency. I went without this product for a long time towards the end of 2017. I ran out and I didn't repurchase it. So I got to see what happened to my skin when I didn't have it. It was fine. My skin was fine. When I repurchased a bottle at the very end of 2017 so that I would have a vitamin C serum in my routine when I started this year, I noticed a dramatic difference in the brightness and tone of my skin. I really, really believe in this product. It's expensive, but I've priced it out and it's worth it. The price per year to me is worth it. There are other vitamin C serums on the market, and there are good ones being invented and being released all the time. So do your research. Don't run out and spend $80 on this product just because I say so. I definitely recommend that you look around, watch other videos, and decide for yourself. But for me, based on my trial and error with my skin concerns, this is maybe the one thing that I would be the most reluctant to let go of. Like if I could only take one skincare product with me besides sunscreen on a trip or something, I would probably take this one. On the briefest days, on the days where I'm doing as little as possible, C-firma will be the first thing I reach for. So if I have almost no time, if it's a super short, super quick morning, I will pop out of bed, rinse my face, and then reach for C-firma and put it on, and then move on. So it's a slightly viscous, watery serum. It's orange, and I just pump out a single pump, and then I pat that all over my face and once again press it into my skin until it's fully absorbed. It feels a bit sticky at the beginning, but as I continue to press it in, it starts to dry down, and by the end of it, it really hasn't left a sticky surface of my skin at all. I think that if you've used this and you've found it to be kind of too sticky or to leave too much of a residue on your face, you might be using too much. Really, one pump is all you need, and one pump should absorb pretty fully into your skin. So the next product is one that I use most days. If it's a normal day, the accordion is half stretched, then I will reach for this product. I don't like to skip this product very often because it is my peptide serum. It's the Ordinary's Buffet. It's basically an all-purpose peptide serum or a peptide blend. It is a much thicker and more viscous serum than C-firma. It's really on the thick side. You'll see when I drop it out of the dropper, it's kind of syrupy and gooey, and that's why it's a little bit later in my routine. General wisdom is to go from the more watery products through to the more viscous products, and from water-based things to oil-based things. That's another way that people talk about it. Sometimes those two directives are at cross purposes with each other. So I take those as general guidelines. I generally try to go from thinnest to thickest in my skincare products, but sometimes I'll move things around if I believe that something should go before another thing. As with everything in beauty, it's really a good idea to absorb as much information as you can, but take everything with a grain of salt, and then through trial and error, find out what works the best for you. But needless to say, this is a pretty thick product. So I know that if I put it on and then I went to put the rather thin and watery C-firma Day Serum on top of it, it would feel like C-firma wasn't getting as much purchase on my skin. It would feel like C-firma was having to sit on top of this thicker product, and I wouldn't feel like I was getting the full benefits of this product. Whereas I do feel like this product can easily get purchased and absorb into my skin over top of this product. Anyway, I drop out 1 or 2 drops from the dropper. I spread it on my palms. I press it into my skin. It is pretty sticky. It takes longer to absorb than any of the other products I've mentioned thus far. It's kind of a goopy layer, but given enough time and a little bit of patience, it does fully absorb, and I can move on to the next step. So the next step is one that I only employ if my skin is feeling particularly dry, and that is an oil for the morning. The oil that I'll use in the morning if I'm going to use an oil is the Ordinary's Marula Oil. This is a super light oil, but it does help a lot with keeping my skin moisturized. It's also antibacterial, so it helps with acne. But if it's a super hot day, if my skin's already feeling a little bit damp with sweat when I'm there in the morning applying my skincare, or if I just don't particularly feel like I need it, if my skin feels really plump and moisturized, or if I know that I'm planning to apply a little bit more base makeup than usual, in any of those cases, I will skip this step. I will just decide that I would rather not have a layer of oil on my skin for that day. If I'm going for a really, really light base makeup look like I've done today, and if my skin's feeling a little bit parched like it is today, then I will always reach for Marula Oil and apply that over top of all of my serums. It helps to seal the serums in, and it just gives my skin a little bit more of something to drink throughout the day. When I apply the Marula Oil, I just do 1 or maybe 2 drops. It's a really, really tiny amount. If I use Marula Oil or another all-purpose oil in the evening, I will apply like 5 drops. I will slather on like a thick layer of oil. But in the mornings, I'm putting Marula Oil on underneath my sunscreen and underneath my makeup. So I just drop 1 or 2 little drops into the palm of my hands. I spread it around really thin on my palms, and then I gently press it into my skin on top of all of my serums. And then I will often let that oil sit. I'll get up and do something, or I'll decide what makeup I'm going to wear and get it out and put it out in front of me. I'll give it a minute or 2 before I go in with my sunscreen, because I want to make sure that it's pretty well absorbed. I don't want it mixing with my sunscreen and sliding around all over my face with my sunscreen. And the last product in my morning skincare routine is the other one that is indispensable. So C-firma is something I never skip. The other thing I never skip is moisturizing sunscreen. This is another product that I've talked about a million times on my channel so far. It's really expensive, and in my recent video where I calculated the yearly costs of my staple skincare items, the video about how I've already made VIB Rouge during my no-buy year, I learned that this product costs me $300 a year. And in that video, I said that for now it feels worth it, or I kind of don't feel up for searching for a replacement right now because of the constraints of my no-buy. I've kind of changed my tune at this point, and this might be my last jar. I think that I'm starting to look into getting some samples. I actually got a couple of samples of other sunscreens, and I'm starting to do my research. I said at that time when I filmed that video that I love this product so much and it's worth it to me, blah, blah, blah. But partly just letting that information sink in and really, really thinking about what it means to spend this much on sunscreen. It's partly that, but it's partly the fact that I got so many sunscreen recommendations from that video, so many amazing recommendations that I'm eager to try, that I want to look into, that I think could work just as well as this for me, but at a much lower price. So the combination of those two factors has actually made me move much further in the direction of thinking that I'm gonna replace this with a different product once it runs out. I do love this. I love how it applies. I love how it sinks into the skin. I think it's a really quality product, but it's so expensive and my habits are changing. My conscience is evolving, and my current evolved conscience just may not let me buy another jar of this. So it remains to be seen what will happen. Stay tuned. But that is not what this video is about. So the last step in my morning skincare routine is a moisturizing sunscreen. So a moisturizer that has an SPF 30 or higher in it. Right now, this is the one I'm using, the Perricone MD Photoplasma. For me, it has to be a mineral sunscreen. It has to be using either zinc oxide or titanium dioxide or both as its active ingredient. Mineral sunscreen reflects the rays of the sun off of the skin. Chemical sunscreen absorbs those rays and turns them into something that doesn't harm your skin. There are all sorts of different opinions about this. A lot of people blithely use chemical sunscreens and don't have any ill effects. Because I am so acne prone, I am unwilling to put chemical sunscreen on my face. A lot of acne sufferers have had the experience that I have had, which is that putting any kind of chemical sunscreen on the face, because there are a bunch of different kinds. There are a bunch of different chemicals like oxybenzone and I don't remember what they're all called. But in my experience, any of those chemicals that are used in sunscreen can aggravate my acne and trigger breakouts. And I've read so many accounts from other people who are acne prone saying the same thing. So not everyone who's acne prone feels like they have to stick to mineral sunscreen, but I prefer mineral sunscreen. So I'm looking for an all mineral sunscreen to replace this one. I will occasionally put chemical sunscreen on my body. I'm not as worried about using a pure mineral sunscreen if it's not on my face, but I still prefer not to. I have some chemical sunscreens left over from before I was aware of this concern, body sunscreens, I mean, and I'm trying to use up those bottles. I don't want them to go to waste, but I will never buy a chemical sunscreen again for my body because I think that the chemicals can make problems for the actual pores of the skin on my face, so that's why I won't put it on my face. But I also worry about those chemicals just going into my body because my acne is hormonal, and one of the problems with the chemicals in chemical sunscreen is that they can be disruptive to the endocrine system. They're essentially confusing to your hormones. So if that's part of the problem, then whether I put it on my face or my body, it's still going to have a detrimental effect on my endocrine system. And my endocrine system is already a little bit out of whack. That's why I struggle with hormonal acne. So I'm not too jazzed about putting chemical sunscreen on my body, but I absolutely refuse to put it on my face. So from the jar, I take roughly a 1/4 teaspoon. That is the recommended amount of sunscreen for a face. It's more than I would need to moisturize with this product. So if I was just using this as a moisturizer, I wouldn't need a full 1/4 teaspoon. I would just need a little dab because it's pretty moisturizing and a little bit goes a long way. But I don't go easy on this product. It's my face sunscreen, and so I don't use it sparingly. I use between a 1/4 and maybe even sometimes a 1/2 teaspoon to cover my entire face, and I sometimes even bring it down my neck and onto this part of my body, my décolletage. But I don't skimp on this, even though it's expensive, and that's one of the reasons I need to find something less expensive in this roll. I spread it out, I gently rub it in, I press it and pat it in, and then I definitely let that sunscreen sit on my face for a good 5 minutes before I go in with primer and start applying makeup. I don't want any of the products that I apply on top of that sunscreen to get in amongst it. I want to make sure that it stays intact, that it soaks in and sets on my skin and creates that barrier to the sun that is absolutely necessary for me because I go outdoors every day. I walk to work every day. I live in Los Angeles. The sun is bright. The sun is hot. The sun is a deadly laser. So just to recap and clarify, when my skincare routine in the morning is at its shortest, I only use 2 products. And there are days, it's not infrequent, there are days where I wake up in the morning, I rinse my face and dry it with a towel, I apply C-firma and let it soak in, and then I apply my sunscreen, and then I'm good to go. That to me is the minimum. That is the accordion squeezed down to its very smallest size. So on a normal day, which is most days, I will rinse my face, then go in with the galactomyces essence, then C-firma, then Buffet, the Peptide Serum, and then my sunscreen after that. So most days it's just those 4 products in my routine after I rinse my face. If my eyes are looking particularly puffy, I will have used the golden snail eye patches before I even rinse my face. And if my skin is feeling particularly dry, I will add a couple of drops of Marula Oil as the last step before my sunscreen. Oh, and there's one thing I forgot to mention. If my skin is really dry, like intractably dry, just really problematically dry, I will sometimes do the 7 skin method with a hydrating toner in the mornings. And if I'm going to do that, it will come after C-firma and before Buffet. So the hydrating toner that I have right now is a ceramide liquid, but historically I've had a couple of different ones on hand. This is just the last one that I have left in this category. And I demonstrated the use of this in my evening skincare routine. So if you didn't see that, you can go back and see what I do when I use this product. These days I haven't been reaching for it. My skin's been in decent shape. It's kind of an emergency measure. If my skin's super dry, I will pack as much hydrating liquid into my skin as I can in the middle of my morning skincare routine. And that is it. That's my morning skincare routine. If you have any questions, if there is anything I didn't cover, please let me know in the comment section down below and I will definitely get back to you. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you'll remember to take extra good care of yourself this week so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.